Whoa, no way. Anna of Order has taken over Penacony, and that's who Sunday truly follows. Who could have saw that coming? If only somebody could have predicted that. Honestly, it does feel very validating, and I'm getting a ton of comments from you guys. Someone even asked me if I'm a Pathstrider or Emanator of the Finality. It was nice to nail this one on the head. And it was a pretty cool, and just the Easter eggs that just made the most sense to me. But yeah, we're going to be breaking down this entire quest. Acheron, what's going on with the Masked Fools, the IPC when its next chapter, the Watchmaker, all of that. We're going to be breaking it down, trying to summarize what we just saw and what we went through. I will be breaking down individual aspects in its own video, going very in depth. But let's start with the main focus. Anna of Order, who ended up being the main antagonist along with Sunday of Penacony. Sunday had a bunch of eyes on his design. This guy's been a control freak since the beginning of Penacony. Penacony's big world map actually symbolizes a giant eye, which was a big red flag for me. And then once the leaks for Sunday's boss started floating around, it was like, oh my god, like this guy is following order. And now he wants to revive a fallen Eon. And we talked about this in my recent video talking about Eons. Can the Path or the Eon really truly be killed? Can you kill a concept or an ideology? It seems like you cannot. But order is an interesting one because order is a lawful nature, whereas a path like equilibrium is balance. It's natural order. Equal parts, right and wrong, chaos and order, yin and yang. Whereas order is a forceful nature of maintaining order at all costs. The Eon of Order doesn't care how that happens. If you are a slave, a prisoner, whatever the case, as long as order's maintained, the means of how does not matter. Whereas harmony represents both parts existing, regardless, despite it all. But Sunday's true intentions is to revive a fallen Eon. Or to become one himself, I'm not exactly sure. But I do find it interesting he can draw this Eon's power if it was killed or dead long ago, absorbed by harmony. It's very interesting that they're slowly starting to explore this concept. But Sunday is fair, and he wanted to see the Trailblaze and the Astral Express's opinions and thoughts on everything before actually engaging them in combat. He wanted to give them a fair shot, but his philosophy is skewed, and it is misguided. He essentially has the exact same principle as like Hydra from Captain America 2.
Hydra was founded on the belief that humanity could not be trusted with its own freedom. What we did not realize was that if you try to take that freedom, they resist. The war taught us much. Humanity needed to surrender its freedom willingly. The new Hydra grew, a beautiful parasite inside S.H.I.E.L.D. Yet humanity is finally ready to sacrifice its freedom to gain its security.
Order being that parasite, and Ina's dream. The dream was always Ina's, and it was never about true harmony, but control, trapping people in the dreamscape as birds in a cage. Imprisoned. Lock the bird in the cage because it cannot fly into a window, it cannot be killed by predators, it'll live a calm, quiet life, but a bird is not meant to be caged. That is the entire point. Yes, the bird could potentially die if allowed to fly freely, but that is the point of freedom. That is the price. That is the beauty of life. And, we'll get into this in a second, but the IPC now hinted to come in 2.3 is another symbolism of this cage, like we've seen in Belobog with Topaz. Sunday is essentially the same thing as the Trailblazers. He follows an Eon that is gone or deceased, but instead of the Trailblaze, it's order, and he plans to use the Eternal Centurion Harmonious Choir to lock everyone trapped within this dream. The reason that Sunday always contradicted harmony is because in order to have complete harmony and freedom, order cannot exist, because to establish order in one way or another, you have to encroach on people's right to choose, people's freedoms. This being powered by a Stellaron. It always comes back to the Stellaron. People also said I was wrong about that there wasn't a Stellaron in Penacony. This was more of a vacation invite type story quest, but there's always a Stellaron. Which, side note, I do think Sam or Firefly, that is going to be the main vocal point of their storyline in 2.3 because we know Firefly is going to be playable. And Gallagher actually confirmed to be following Mythos, the Enigmata, and was in close companion of the Watchmaker to actually lure all of these different groups here to Penacony, except for Acheron, and Acheron was never part of Enna's plan. Enna originally wanted Ifrit and the Annihilation Gang to come to Penacony, but we know Acheron killed Duke Inferno and took his invitation, which means Order wanted destruction, not nihility. And interestingly enough, and I'm going to break this down in its own video because we got lots to talk about Acheron even more now, but Acheron and nihility seem to be the ultimate kryptonite for Order, which is why the Dream Master wanted Acheron gone at all costs. She was a pretty big problem for Order and what they were trying to do. The infinite black hole, an endless void of nihility, is not to be trifled with, and poses a problem to Sunday and the Dream Master's grand plan. Acheron being one of the main people who can really just break through Ina's false dream, which actually occurred the minute we got to Penacony, and dream and reality were starting to mix together, and being able to decipher which was getting to be impossible. The false ending that we got was Sunday, where Aventurine and Topaz basically say, yep, the IPC's no longer interested in Penacony, which you knew was total crap right off the bat, and I couldn't really figure out what's going on, there's no way, and it seemed to wrap up pretty quickly, but it was a cool little twist. We were in Enna's dream the minute we entered the Asdonia system, and had that dream with Acheron leading us through the Dream Hotel. We never actually woke up until after Black Swan tells us her bedtime story. That's why we could see Misha in the hotel, because we weren't actually awake, and Misha has actually long been deceased, and a former trailblazer. And the Watchmaker finally having his true identity revealed as Mikhail Char Legwork, a former mechanic on the Astral Express, and played a very important role in freeing the planet from the IPC's control and transforming it into the planet of festivities, as seen today, becoming the symbol of dreams for those who come to pursue his legacy. Despite his status and stories being passed down over generations, many have begun to doubt his existence though, starting to think that the family actually invented him. Firefly also already kind of had a hunch that the Watchmaker was actually a nameless. Mikhail was born on an ocean-like world, seafarer, and joined the Express at some point in time, but this came to an end when he visited Penacony. Him and his fellow crewmates Tiernan and Rosalina decided to stay in Penacony, and they wished to help the planet and its people recover from the Stellaron corrosion, and his body and tombstone to this day, along with his crewmates, reside in the Dreamflux Reef, hidden below a layer of the dream, which we now know that Gallagher used the death meme to send people here, and Gallagher fulfilling the wish of Mikhail to help get the Trailblaze here. And obviously we know that Misha was just the mirage or illusion of that old-timer Mikhail that is now deceased, which is why Black Swan states that we shouldn't have been able to see him at any point if we were awake, which is how we figured out that we've always been in this dream of Ina, of Order. And for the Misha and Mikhail kind of parallel, to put in simplest terms, Misha is the remnants of memory and love for the Trailblaze that Mikhail held onto as he passed away. Misha is the true legacy of the Watchmaker. He's what Mikhail left behind to help the future Nameless who hope to come to Penacony to save the world he loved. But, like we talked about, there is no way that we would have been able to see Misha at any point unless we were always in a dream, which is what Black Swan sort of figures out in that false ending. Elio being the ultimate narrator, of course, because he knows everything. He knows every script. I will be breaking down all of the Stellaron Hunters and all of the Stonehearts, similar to how I did with all of the Eon. We also get Boot Hill that kind of confronts Dong Hung on the Astral Express, which is kind of hilarious. And I felt there wasn't too much of his story that played a big role yet. I think he's going to be a bigger part in 2.3 when we actually get the IPC coming in. But him and Acheron quickly kind of made amends and he agreed to help us. They just set up Jade to come now to Penacony, which I already made a video talking about the IPC, but essentially, they're coming back to take over Penacony. They want control of Penacony. The IPC is not really much different than Sunday's Ideals. They want total control over everything and every asset they can. And now with what Aventurine pulled and Jade having her stone there, they have a little bit more leeway to infiltrate and maybe use a little bit more aggression and force now. But the Galaxy Rangers, mainly Boot Hill, cannot stand the IPC for the life of him. And we don't know the full history of what actually happened with Boot Hill in the IPC, but he asks Aventurine about Oswaldo Schneider, the head of the marketing and development department. We know that Diamond is an emanator of Klypoth of Preservation, and I think all of the heads of the main departments are also emanators. I don't think that's going to phase Boot Hill too much because he doesn't seem to give a damn if someone's an emanator or not. He was willing to challenge Acheron on a whim, so we'll definitely get to see this whole storyline play out. Now, actually, as for Acheron, we get these flashbacks of her talking to the old man in the cloak. This was kind of a cool moment because if you play Honkai Impact, you get a little bit of a, oh yeah, you get a really cool Easter egg moment. But essentially, this old man was Tyrion, one of the 3 companions of the Trailblaze that went to Penacony. And this man was a war hero of Penacony. He survived the swarm encirclement, and he actually joined the Galaxy Rangers for a stint and had a hand in taking down Zulo the Lord Ravager, similar to Phantalia the Undying, that both are emanators of destruction. And instead of just passing on, he stayed behind to help his dead comrades transcend the afterlife, which also brings us to Acheron. We actually heard multiple people say that it's impossible that she's an emanator of nihility, because nihility doesn't interact with anyone. It doesn't gaze upon anyone, or give a blessing. And the Genius Society and Intelligentsia Guild all agree that of all of the eons, and all the really wacky eons out there, that nihility is one of the most mysterious out of all of them. The infinite black hole that poses a threat to order. I'm just gonna say it, nihility and Acheron are both badass. It seems that the power of the infinite nothingness is just limitless. And Acheron sort of acts as like the executioner or undertaker of nihility. But obviously the coolest point of all of this was we actually get her full legitimate name drop, Raiden Mei, which we already knew she was another incarnation of Raiden Mei and the Raiden Shogun. As for the Stellaron Hunters, I think their story in Penacony is going to play out a little bit further in 2.3 because Firefly is going to be a new character coming out. But Firefly is an interesting Stellaron Hunter because she's also trying to find herself, which is indicated by her conversation with Blade. And I think making a true friend and being able to somewhat make decisions for herself is really growing this character. I did make a video breaking down her backstory as a Glamoth Iron Soldier from the Iron Cavalry, but she might also be Titania, who was the hive mind behind the Iron Fleet that fought the Swarm disaster, and she eventually rebelled against her creators as the weapon she was made to be. I am interested to see if they are going to explore this further in her story, or if she was just a run-of-the-mill Iron Cavalry soldier. As for Penacony now, at least when it comes to Ina of Order and Sunday's plans, the planet seems to be free, and Order truly diminished now. I truly don't think you can kill Order or any concept or ideology completely, but it seems that it's no longer manifesting within Penacony. That is until the IPC come next patch, and try to reclaim the planet they lost long ago. But unlike Order, who just wants control and stability, the IPC see this as a planet to make money, profits, the intergalactic government. And now we have Jade and her cornerstones on Penacony. She is on her way, and Aventurine can't tell if he's going to get promoted to P46 or lose his life. Only Diamond will know that answer. As for the Masked Fools and Sparkle, I know a lot of people were disappointed that she didn't really do too much in this patch and Penacony in general. Honestly, Aha, that Eon, and all the people that follow it really just like to cause chaos and mayhem. They like to see the struggles of others and just get a kick out of it. They literally just like to stir the pot and see what happens. I don't think they have an allegiance or a true side they follow. This Eon literally made an emanator out of a worm and has done a number of crazy shit in its lifetime in existence. Sparkle seems to just be playing all sides. She helps out Aventurine, Sunday. That is just what they embody, and I don't think they care too much of the outcome as long as it's entertaining. But perhaps we get more with Sparkle in 2.3 when the IPC shows up. But I do hope this video was helpful. 2.2 was a really entertaining quest, and I am sorry it took so long to upload this, but I have been working a lot of night shifts and it's been a little chaotic. But let me know your thoughts in the comments if you enjoyed this patch, if you were a little underwhelmed, and just what your overall thoughts were. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.